St. Joseph, Missouri, the geographical epicenter of the country. The city of 80,000 lies on the edge of the Missouri River and was founded by settlers who were headed west on the Oregon Trail. In 1858, the Patey House Hotel was built as a safe haven for weary travelers.
Please help me!
My God.
But it's the grisly events that took place on a hot spring night nearly 150 years ago that would cement this spot's rightful place in the annals of history.
Evening, folks. What can I do you for?
Help me!
What?
Please help me! My husband's been shot. Please help me!
Oh, my God. Sit down. Are you okay? Sit down. Your husband's been shot.
Yeah. The Ford brothers, they were having breakfast in my house.
Calm down. Breathe. Breathe. Sheriff will be here soon. Be okay. Oh, my God.
Please help me.
This woman and her husband were often seen at the hotel, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper. The town knew the husband as Thomas Howard, a quiet family man who rented a plot of land adjacent to the Patey House Hotel.
Mr. Tom Howard moved into this area of St. Joseph in November of 1881. He rented for $14 a month. Middle-class neighborhood, high on a hill. No one certainly knew anything different about this family than any others who lived in the neighborhood.
But the man they know as Thomas Howard is hiding something. His real name is Jesse James.
Who would expect an outlaw to be living with his wife and children right in a residential area of St. Joseph? They had no reason to suspect that there was an outlaw up there.
The most famous and feared outlaw in the West is hiding in plain sight.
Jesse James, you take your hat off in my house. Come on now.
Sorry about that, Z.
It's 1881, and that was kind of the end of his career. His wife was trying to get him to give up a life of crime. Jesse had killed at least 17 people, probably a lot more than that. Things were getting pretty hot. The law enforcement was after him. They had pulled 15 or 20 bank robberies and train robberies by then. They'd even robbed stagecoaches over several states.
James had stolen so much money and killed so many people that the governor of Missouri, Thomas Crittenden, makes capturing Jesse James the main agenda of his term in office. And the targets of James' robberies are perfectly willing to pitch in.
The banks and trains all wanted to get rid of Jesse James, and they agreed to provide money to help with the reward to capture Jesse. The governor made it official, issuing this official proclamation.
Despite a huge prize on his head that has every bounty hunter in the country looking to kill him, Jesse James plans a new heist. And with most of his original outfit either dead or in jail, he brings two unproven men into his gang.
Where y'all boys heading tonight?
And even his home.
Samara? All right, don't wander too far, will you?
Jesse recruited the Ford brothers, Bob and Charles Ford, who were new gang members.
But the Ford brothers had a money-making scheme of their own, one that didn't involve robbing any banks.
$10,000 is a lot of money, Bob.
How are we gonna kill him?
I say with our guns, Bob. Say the plan is we keep an eye on him day and night. When those guns come off and his back turns, you put one bullet in his head, and we're $10,000 richer.
Some people wanted to ride with Jesse James just like today's kids like to pick out heroes. And I think that's what the Fords did. But they didn't have the loyalty to Jesse James.
You think the governor will pardon a couple criminals?
I think if it meant getting the #1 outlaw out of his way, he might.
And as a result, they didn't have any qualms about meeting with the Governor Crittenden.
In February of 1882, they arrange a secret meeting with the governor in Kansas City, Missouri, 30 miles south of James' hideout in St. Joseph.
So, gentlemen, exactly how can I help you?
There's a $10,000 reward out for this man, Jesse James.
There is. There's public knowledge.
My brother and I might just be able to take out this outlaw that keeps bothering you.
Son, I'm not accustomed, nor do I take liking to vagabonds wasting my time with delusions of grandeur.
Well, we run with Jesse. You could say we's like him.
We could get you Jesse James.
Is that right?
For a prize.
The governor wants Jesse James captured or killed so badly that he considers the demands of the known criminals sitting in front of him.
You deliver me Jesse James. 10,000 is yours. The pardons are yours.
Sounds like we got ourselves a deal.
On the afternoon of April 3rd, 1882, Jesse and the Ford brothers sit down for breakfast before heading out to scout a bank job. But on this morning, Jesse doesn't wear his gun to the table.
All right, boys. Cleaned up. Went downtown and check out that bank.
After nearly 2 months of waiting for the perfect opportunity, the Ford brothers finally see a chance to cash in on the bounty. But Jesse James won't be the only one who winds up dead as a result of this shootout. 1882. The world's most famous outlaw, Jesse James, is planning his next bank robbery.
All right, boys. Cleaned up. Went downtown and check out that bank.
With a massive bounty on his head and the untrusted Ford brothers as the only members of his gang, this job may be over before it gets started.
Jesse? Oh no, no. Oh my God.
Bob Ford was standing about 4.5 feet away from Jesse James. When he pulled his pistol back, it made a clicking noise. And he said that Jesse turned slightly, and then he went ahead and pulled the trigger. Jesse died in a matter of seconds. After the shooting, Bob Ford and Charles Ford were both charged with murder, but they were immediately pardoned by Governor Tom Crittenden.
Immediately after Jesse's murder, his wife, Zerelda James, is put up at the Patey House Hotel until the sheriff can sort out the crime. Despite her grief, she tries to conceal her husband's identity.
She first denied it and then later had to admit that it was Jesse James.
Today, a tombstone in St. Joseph marks the final resting spot of America's most famous criminal. On it is an epitaph written by Jesse's mother that reads, "Devoted husband and father, murdered by a traitor and coward, whose name is not worthy to appear here." The coward she refers to is Robert Ford, who would be murdered by a double-barrel shotgun blast to the chest 10 years later, simply because he was so hated for killing Jesse. The Patey House, no longer a hotel, became a museum in 1963 and features exhibits from the hotel's old Western past. Jesse's house has been relocated to the back of the museum. Visitors can still see the hole from the bullet that ended the career and life of America's favorite criminal.